And welcome back to this special Tuesday edition of Today. During his career, Michael Jackson sold more than 750 million records and won countless awards. But how will and how should history view the King of Pop? Michael Eric Dyson met Jackson a few years ago and will attend today's memorial. He is also the author of Can You Hear Me Now? The inspiration, wisdom, and insight of Michael Eric Dyson. Michael, always a pleasure to see you. Good morning.
Always good to see you, Meredith.
You met Michael at a rather interesting location. Tell us about it.
Right. It was at a Johnny Cochran's funeral a few years back, and I was in the bathroom, and a figure, after we washed our hands, of course, reached out to shake my hand and said, I love how you speak on television. It was Michael Jackson. I said, well, I love how you perform on stage. And it was a surreal moment. We were born the same year, him in August, and I was born in October. So I've been tracking, tracing, and marveling at him for all of these years. And it was an honor to meet him.
And you write about him in your book. There's a chapter called Icons, and you write this about Michael Jackson. He is one of the greatest prodigies of world musical history. You'd have to turn to a cat like Mozart for a parallel figure who at 6 or 7 years old is already at such an advanced level of mastery of his craft. Was he a musical genius as a kid? Fair to say that?
Absolutely right. I mean, at 6 and 7, he already understands who he wants to be like, who he's patterning himself after. Jackie Wilson, James Brown, and William Hart. Who knows William Hart? Who's a great man, but the lead singer of the Delphonics. Michael Jackson already knew he wanted that kind of harmonic intensity, that kind of melodic explosion in his music, and he could, in one sense, channel the soulful blues of an Otis Redding and the floating melisma of a Sam Cooke, and yet reach beyond the boundaries and barriers of race to really give the world a global expression of what black identity was about.
Well, that's what really made him unique, that he did reach beyond those boundaries. He was more than just a great entertainer.
Oh, he was. Think about it. The Jackson 5 had a cartoon on television in 1971, a scant 5-6 years after the Moynihan Report forecast the doom and gloom for the black family. So they were a repudiation of that, an intact black family, mother and father there. Dysfunction, of course, all American families are dysfunctional. But then he projected that to the world. Michael Jackson's music was like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 set to killer beats. It was a crime against humanity that any race, class, sex, or gender would be forbidden to access to his music, and he felt that he was a global citizen.
You know, he was also a controversial figure, and we can't let you go without talking about some of that, including his transformation over the years. You write about it in your book. You write, it might sound cliche to say so, but Michael Jackson embodies all of the malicious demons of identity that black people struggle with. What do you mean by that?
Well, the fact is, of course, he had vitiligo, he said, where you lose pigment in your skin. So I'm sure that some of that was to compensate for the loss of melanin. But also, I think Michael Jackson acted out on his face what black people struggle with in their souls. The offending blackness that somehow has to be wrestled with and dealt with. And whether he reconstructed his face, de-Africanized his image, the reality is he confronted what we all confronted. And even as his face got whiter, his beats remained rooted firmly in the soil of African-American identity. So it was a kind of contradiction.
But how much of it is that, Michael? How much of it is it maybe the kind of upbringing he had? He talked about the way his dad berated his looks, that his nose was too big.
Too broad, a dark skin, not cute, and so on, and teased him. And what might have been teasing for a, quote, regular child, of course, gets internalized with a young genius and prodigy like Michael Jackson, a vindicant of music, but also an extremely sensitive soul. So, yeah, the larger society tells us that being black is a problem. You're in your own home. The reverberation of that kind of, belief certainly played havoc with Michael Jackson's psyche and shaped who he saw himself as a human being.
Do you think his legacy will be different in white America, quote unquote, versus black America? Or do you think because he bridged the gap, it will be much the same?
Well, yeah, you can see by the global outpouring of love for him that he will be extraordinary. The world has claimed him, but there's a special place in the heart of African American culture for this young genius who rose from our ranks, was deeply rooted in our soil, but sprouted fruit that is now being tasted by the world.
Michael, a pleasure. Congratulations on the book as well.
Thank you.